Hello, hello, and good morning. Good morning. This is Dr. Yonnette coming to you with another episode of Baby Talk. We have been separated for a little bit as I have been on vacation, but it's a pleasure to be back with you. Of course, I miss being with you, and I am so happy that we can get together again. So, how is baby doing? Baby's first Christmas, huh? How did that go? Send me pictures. Let me see what's happening and share in your joys. So, today I want to talk about a serious topic. I was listening to the news the other day and they were talking about obesity, the prevalence of obesity in the United States. And, this has really gripped me because I can see as I interact with people, the number of children who are obese has become so staggering. And I want to address this issue so that we can become more aware of what is happening around us. Now, obesity, if I could be very simple, obesity is fat, right? A whole lot of fat on your body. Fat more than what you would expect a child to have. When you look at a child, you can tell that the child is overweight. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the numbers, and then we're going to get into the prevalence in terms of how it affects, or the condition in terms of how it affects children. So in the United States, obesity is really, really a serious problem, and it puts children and adolescents, adults too, at risk for poor health. Now, this information I'm sharing with you comes from the CDC as usual. And I want you to note that for children and adolescents ages 2 to 19, between the years of 2017 and 2022, the prevalence of obesity was 19.7%. Now, you may say, what does that mean? But listen up. It means that about 14.7 million children and adolescents are obese. Now, when we look at obesity in terms of children between the ages of 2 to 5 years old, 12% of this number includes children 2 to 5 years old. Now, tell me how a 2-year-old can become obese, or a 5-year-old. When moms and dads, you are taking care of those children. You are providing the meals, the diet for these children, and between the ages of 6 to 11 years old, 20% of these children are obese. And then we have between 22.2% of the 12 to 19 years old are obese. Now, it is one of the most common concern among certain populations. Obesity prevalence in Hispanic population or Hispanic children is 26.2%. And then among non-Hispanic Black children, it's 24.8%. And then among non-Hispanic white children, it's 16.6%. And then among non-Hispanic Asian children, it's 9.0%. What are some of the conditions that include obesity-related conditions include, or let me say this a different way. Obesity conditions can lead to difficulties or problems in blood pressure, resulting in high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, problems breathing, such as asthma and sleep apnea, and then joint problems. So let's look at this a little more as we let those figures sink in, because this is really a serious problem in the United States. People who are obese compared to those with a healthy weight are at risk of having those diseases that I just pointed out. And they also have problems that have a significant economic impact on the United States healthcare system. Okay? Now, health conditions and obesity. Obesity in children, like I mentioned earlier, can cause those health problems of high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, breathing problems, joint problems, gallstone and gallbladder problems. But it is also associated with psychological problems because, such as anxiety and depression. Think of it. It comes naturally when you think of it. Children who are obese a lot of times get picked on or bullied, and they are not able to participate in the activities that other children their ages are able. They're mostly sitting around and unable to move as much as others do. There are the social problems and stigmas, and then they become obese adults. So there are a whole lot of issues that surround this condition of obesity. When we think of obesity in terms of economic impact, in the United States, in 2019, it was estimated to be nearly $173 billion in healthcare cost that was related to obesity. And the annual nationwide productivity costs of obesity-related absenteeism range from $3.38 billion and $6.38 billion. That's staggering, isn't it? That is very staggering. But listen, as we continue to look at the figures, the numbers, the stats, when it comes to military readiness, 1 in 3 adults ages 17 to 24, listen to these numbers, 1 in 3 adults ages 17 to 24 is too heavy to serve in the military. Too heavy, 1 in 3. That is staggering, isn't it? Now, why are our children becoming obese? Why are we facing this problem? And I want to submit to you, it's because of our diet. Diet plays a significant role in how our weight develops. In addition to diet, exercise plays an important role. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, or rather on Monday, when we get together again. Tomorrow is Saturday, so we'll do some re-time with Baby Yay. Yes, let's talk a little bit more about diet and how it plays into this obesity problem that we are facing here in America, that our 2-year-olds and our 5-year-olds are dealing with here in America. And in the meantime, I want you to continue journaling. Look at your child's weight, look and see where he or she falls in terms of comparison to other children who are in their age group. And speak to your pediatrician if you're becoming concerned about how your child is growing and developing in terms of weight. And let him or her give you some advice as to how to manage your child's weight. This is a really serious problem that can follow your child throughout life, can impact the way your child feels about him or herself, and how he interacts with his community. So I want you to really be intentional about what you provide for your child. That's why one of my main recommendations every time I talk about babies is to be breastfeeding your baby. When you breastfeed, your breast milk comes with the right amount of nutrients, the right amount of fat to keep your baby at the correct weight. I mean, if you have other problems, of course you need to speak with your child's pediatrician. But in general, if you are breastfeeding your baby and starting him or her off on the right diet, you shouldn't have to be dealing with an obesity problem. Like I shared before, I breastfed my child for years, and then I never introduced the fats and the sweets or even meat to my child's diet. My child is 18 years old and he's still a vegetarian. So I want you to think seriously about how you are helping to develop the next generation of successful children. And let's see if we can work together to curb this obesity problem, to give your child a healthy start, and that will lead into healthy adulthood. This is Dr. Yonnette coming to you again and saying this Friday morning, the last Friday of 2022, to take care of baby while you take care of you. And be intentional in 2023 that everything you do will be done with the right intention to raise the next generation of successful children. Have a fabulous Friday.